For today, we kind of have a theme for our presentation. We knew this is only a 20-minute engagement, and one of the thoughts was, you know, if repetition equals education, the theme you're going to hear over and over again is choose your crowd wisely. And this is really interesting when you get into the world and the global concept of this crowd that you deal with. Just a little quick verb on Appen. We've been in business 23 years, and so we started this crowd concept long time ago, and we've seen quite a bit of evolution. And from a banking standpoint, it's really interesting because we did an IPO in Australia this last year, and the IPO was extremely successful. And we got quite a bit of press on how rapidly our shares increased in value in over just a 1-year time period. But what's unique about Appen is we serve a lot of big companies, and we provide services in 150 languages in 100 countries. So when we heard this Bill Gates comment earlier about, you know, the whole world's going to have this opportunity to participate, you know, we already see it on a daily basis. We have what you could call almost a private crowd, a managed crowd, and this crowd consists of about over 500,000 resources that we can supply any company at any given point in time. We have some specialities that we focus on, and what's unique is we serve 9 of the 10 largest IT companies in the world, and we also serve 6, I think it's 7 now, of the world's 10 largest internet companies. And so one of the previous slides are showing all these different companies on the internet, and Carolyn and I are kind of chuckling because all those are our clients. Not only do they participate with crowd concepts, they also procure crowd resourcing services to help them with all their business needs. So choose your crowd wisely is our theme. And this ecosystem of the crowd is so unique, and it's changing daily. We're constantly getting thrown at us more and more unique problems that we have to deal with when we manage the crowd. One of the biggest challenges we see in the marketplace, though, is companies are not mapping their projects and their needs to the crowd correctly. They go out to the crowd, and they think the crowd's going to, you know, be cost effective for their business. They think it's going to provide them some type of quality output. But what happens is they don't deal with the right type of crowd. They'll send a project to a crowd that, you know, is pretty nomadic, or a crowd that, you know, is very complex. And so we've become experts in mapping for our clients what your business need is to the type of crowd that you need. So one of the case studies I like to throw out there, and this is somewhat kind of funny, is that in ancient Babylonia, they had crowd health care. If you were sick, you went to the public square, and you laid there in pain and agony, and you sat there until somebody who recognized your sickness came up to you and said, I know what you need to do. You know, you need to sacrifice a couple lambs and drink some blood, and you'll be healthy. It's not the, you know, in today's modern terms, it's not a great example of crowd health care. I mean, that's not the way I want to be healed. So it goes back to our theme, choose your crowd wisely. In our business, we have to deal with all different types of personalities in the crowd. And unfortunately, some of those personalities are thieves. We have to deal with fraud on the internet. And that's a battle because, you know, we're representing big companies, and if fraud is occurring on the crowd side, we have to answer for that. We're also dealing with bots, people trying to do crowd work through technology to make more money and claim that they're, you know, they'll have a machine application that will do the work that we're requesting, and they'll do it, you know, for multiple fake profiles. And then we're paying these people, and then what we find out at the end is that a machine has been doing all this work, which defeats the whole purpose of working with the crowd. And then you have the crowd people who just need some beer money. You know, they come out and they want to do a few tasks, make a little extra money. We also deal with college students trying to pay their way for food while they're going through college. We have a very big network of home moms. And as I mentioned before, a lot of our clients are global, and there's this need for a multicultural crowd. A lot of these applications, they have to deal with all the cultural nuances on the internet. So if you're on Google and you do a search for World Cup and you're in India, you're going to expect a cricket event. If you do a search on World Cup in Brazil, you're going to expect soccer. So the crowd brings to a lot of these big companies understanding of all these cultural nuances so they can direct their products accordingly. And then now we're seeing in our business a need for a highly demographic crowd. You know, people want to know what the older people think. You know, even though we took off our ties today, there is some value to our knowledge and how we approach things, just as much as how the millennials approach. So a lot of our clients now are demanding not only that we provide a crowd, but that we have so many teenagers, so many people in their 20s, so many people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, so they can get a very diverse view of what everybody thinks in relation to the project. And then lastly, there is a very high educated crowd now. Our company, we employ a lot of PhDs in linguistic projects. And so, you know, these individuals are just highly intelligent, extremely fascinating people, but they're working on a crowd project, which makes them really unique. They're not working directly for a corporation. So when you approach the crowd, there's more than one type of crowd. And I have two extremes here. There's the true crowd, which is very inexpensive. That'd be something like I'm putting a project out on Amazon, Mechanical Turk. This type of crowd is really good at binary task. You know, is this shirt green? Yes. Is this shirt blue? No. Then that data goes to whoever issued the project. They're very it's a self-serving relationship. If you're in the crowd, you go out to the website, you decide if you want to work or not. There's no, you know, there's no boss behind you saying, you have to get this work done. And they're very nomadic. You can't always count that they're going to be there for you. A lot of these simple true crowd projects have no training. And if they do have training, it's a couple sentences. Answer these questions, say yes or no. And ultimately, from a quality standpoint, this is the biggest complaint we get, is you get what you get with a true crowd. Then you have on the other extreme, this is a service more that we provide, is a managed crowd. With the managed crowd, you get this value-add project management. Obviously, that means there's more cost, but with that, you have a team that's analyzing these complex tasks, and they're constantly providing training and reinforcement to the crowd to do better and better on these tasks. The work is distributed, and there's an expectation the work is going to get done. It's not work where it's, oh, if I want to work today, I will. No, there's an expectation. You either get this work done or you're no longer on the project. So there's a lot more demand on the crowd. The training and qualification process is even more complex. We don't even put people on projects until they've actually passed basic training that says they can actually do the job and do it with a high degree of quality. And the biggest difference is a managed crowd has to meet SLAs. So the client's saying, we want this level of quality. We're willing to pay for it. To do that, you know, it costs more. And so that gets into a whole nother discussion on the battle of the crowds. So one crowd doesn't fit all, and there's this big battle between project cost and quality control. So you have one side where you have poor quality, and poor quality, usually when that happens, you do a ton of overlap. So like on Mechanical Turk, you might have a project where you have 20 people answer the same question. And if 19 people answer the question one way, they assume that's the answer. But you have to pay for every time that happens. It's not just one person giving you the answer, it's 20 people giving you the answer. So essentially, you're paying for 20 people to do the project and 19 other people to give you confidence that that answer is correct. And then you get to the other end of the spectrum, high quality, which comes with SLAs. And then, as you can see, as the quality goes up, so does the cost. And this is a battle we deal with our clients constantly, because clients hear crowdsourcing is really inexpensive, and they want the single dollar symbol. They want to do it cost effectively because they're trying to save money. I mean, to employ a crowd is a lot cheaper than trying to employ, if you come to us and you say you need 1,000 resources, it's a lot cheaper for us to bring it to you than going out and hiring, you know, everything it takes to hire all these people. So you have to choose your crowd wisely, and our job, majority of the time with Carolyn and I, is managing the expectation of our clients as to whether you're going to get high quality or low quality based on the task. So that leads us to our final slide here, and these are the points that we want you to take home if you're looking to procure crowd services, or if you have a project that you want to direct towards crowd services. But the first one is does the project task align with the right crowd? That's the #1 mistake we see in the marketplace. People trying to throw a task to a Mechanical Turk, they spent all this money and all the data was worthless, and then they had to go back to looking at another alternative, which is more of a managed crowd. The second item we see a lot is humans make mistakes. And we will have clients come to us and say, well, we want 99% quality. We're like, well, you know, how many of us got all A's in school? 99%, if you got an A in school, was it 9, and you got 90%, that was good, but it wasn't, 99%. So that's another big challenge, that the crowd's going to make mistakes. You're going to pay for a certain delta of poor quality, no matter what crowd you utilize. Third one, does ongoing experience contribute to the quality output? We deal with a lot of companies who have very complex crowd projects. And what we find is it takes 3 to 6 months for a resource in a crowd to become an expert at that project. And so you can't have nomadic people. We have to put people on it, pay them good enough so that they want to stay on the project and become experts at it. And how complicated is your task or project? It's interesting, in the crowd world that we participate in, we have what we call guidelines. These are the instructions on a particular project. And we have some projects where the guidelines could be 40 pages long. You can't throw that out to a simple, true crowd because that's a lot to read. They're not going to do it. So you have to understand, is your task complicated? And if it is, you got to direct it to the right crowd. That means you're probably going to pay more money. And does your price attract the right crowd? And so you see a lot of crowd projects thrown out on the internet, and they'll say, we'll pay you $1/4 a task. And if the task is boring for this crowd, and if it takes, let's say, a couple minutes to do the actual task, the crowd's going to decide whether they even want to do this project or not. We see that happen a lot, where the crowd says, nah, no thank you. When it gets up to a couple bucks a task, we'll consider it. And you get what you get when you pay for the crowd. Again, on all of our engagements with all the companies we deal with, the #1 priority in every meeting we have is quality is the #1 most important item. If you can't provide quality, it's just a waste of utilizing the crowd. So we have to reinforce this with our clients all the time, is we can't give you the quality if you're not willing to pay for what it takes to reach that quality. And so it's aligning and mapping those expectations of the customer and the crowd, making sure they fit together correctly. So we wanted to leave you those 6 thoughts. And Carolyn here, in London terms, is really the queen of our crowd for Appen. And Carolyn manages thousands upon thousands of resources on the crowd. So we wanted to open it up to see if anybody had any questions on crowd management, crowd operations, and hopefully Carolyn here can help address some of those questions.